Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to IDontWorkHereLady, where you guys know the deal. Karens keep confusing regular customers as employees, and they keep getting arrested for it. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today. Don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So this one happened a few years ago. I was working in a retail electronics store in a large shopping mall. After a shift one day, I decided to cruise around and look for some new shoes. I didn't bother taking off my uniform or my name tag. Now, I honestly didn't think that would be an issue, and it shouldn't be. So the store I work in and the shoe store I went to was pretty close to each other. That's important to the story. It was a weekend, and the shops were very busy, and the shoe store was no exception. I was inspecting a pair of shoes when a woman approaches me. It's not an uncommon occurrence when shopping in uniform, but the person usually apologizes and laughs it off. As you may guess by me posting here, this is not what happened. The lady says to me, "Excuse me, can I get these shoes in a size so-and-so?" I say to her, "Sorry, I don't work here." I then point to my name tag that shows the logo of my employer. And the lady says, can't you just go get them anyway?" I say to her, "No, like I said, I work for this company, not this shoe store." And that's when the Karen says, "It's all the same thing, isn't it? Everyone else is busy. I just want to buy these shoes and go, so go get them." That's when I tell her, "No, shoes and electronics are entirely different things. You're asking me to trespass in their storeroom. Even if I could, I wouldn't because I'm not working. This is my personal time. Please leave me alone." I do want to note that I said this firmly but politely. The tone in her voice made me think that she was not gonna let up, so I just wanted to nip it in the bud. And the woman looked like I just slapped her in the face. She ditches the shoes and she storms out of the store muttering something like "uneffing believable. Nobody wants to help anyone nowadays." I watched her leave and I had a good laugh because what the F was that? But the story does not end there. When I went into work the next day, my boss asked me if I'd upset any customers the day prior. I told her no, but I did recount the story about the crazy lady in the shoe store. My manager laughed it off and told me that the lady actually came into the store to complain about me. Apparently, according to her, it's unacceptable that I refused to help her, and that I spoke to her very rudely, and a person like me shouldn't be employed. The manager said that she explained that I'm required to only work for my own employer during my shifts, and she could not force me to work for free at stores I wasn't employed at. The lady argued the point that it was so busy and she was in such a hurry that I should have helped anyway. Typical rambling of someone who doesn't get what they wanted. Fortunately, my manager had a sense of humor and was laughing about it for weeks. Guys, I am literally baffled at this. Like, I can't believe the woman went to the store that OP worked at to complain, because OP didn't help her at a different store that had nothing to do with their job. Like, what in the world? And I'm also glad that OP's manager had the common sense to tell the rude woman off and wasn't like, "OP, how dare you disrespect a customer?" Because sometimes managers do side with customers for some friggin' reason. So I didn't think I'd have a story like this because I rarely leave the house, but here I am. On this day, I needed to make an excursion outside to feed the kitty her treats of choice as I'd run out from spoiling her rotten. I'll bow before the cat queen in my home. So I get my stuff on and get ready to leave and walk to the grocery store to pick up her tasties and some more cat food. Now, to paint a picture of what I looked like, I'm in a gray hoodie, a beanie, a gray Guinness tank top, and navy blue pajama pants. I in no way look like an employee of anywhere. I'm in what I like to call bum attire. I also have headphones in and I'm listening to some music. So I get to the store, jamming out to some Slipknot, and proceed to go about my business. I grab a basket and beeline it to the pet aisle. That's when I pass the registers and I'm instantly accosted by this neon green-haired woman in her late 40s. She's wearing a shawl and she looks like she belongs in a craft show. She instantly starts in on me, looking everywhere else but me. And Karen says, "Listen, I'm looking for dish soap and I have no effing clue where you people hide that crap. Show me where it is." It's at this point I'm pulling out one headphone and say, pardon? Karen angrily groans and says, "Ugh, do you morons even listen? Where is the dish soap?" And I want to note that she's snapping her fingers in my face at every word. I'm instantly pissed off at the snapping. I know where it is, but with your attitude, I'm not exactly inclined to help you. That's when the woman says, "Listen here." And I cut her off, yelling back in her face, "No, you listen here. These people do not get paid enough to deal with you. And I don't work here, so I'm definitely not getting paid enough to take your nasty crap. How about you open your damn eyes and look at the signs that are hanging above each aisle in the store?" Karen was taken aback that someone dared to talk back at her and said, "Well, I never." That's when an employee comes over from customer service and says, "What's going on here?" Karen, before anyone could get a word in, says, "This a-hole has been so rude to me. All I asked for was where the dish soap was, and you employ people like this?" That's when I tell the employee, "Page a manager, please. Clueless here thinks I work here and also requires glasses." So the employee bolts to grab a manager, and we just stand there. I just fold my arms and wait while Karen hisses at me how I'm going to be mega fired or whatever. I just stopped paying attention and went back to listening to bleed it out. The store manager and the employee appear minutes later, and this is what goes on. The store manager says, "What's going on here? This employee sort of filled me in." And before he could finish his sentence, the Karen goes back to screaming and says, "This little piece of crap here refused to show me where the dish soap was and was rude and insulting to me. Why do you hire people like this?" I say to the manager, "She's clueless. She thinks I work here somehow, and I just want cat food and treats." The store manager looks at her and says, "Ma'am, he's plainly a customer. Look at him. Pajama pants aren't part of the uniform here." That's when Karen actually looks at me, and she really takes in my appearance for the first time. She then sees that I'm literally dressed like a lazy couch potato, and she lets out a weak, "Oh." Evidently, she's a common problem at this store because the store manager surprises me with the next remark. The store manager coldly and obviously very annoyed says to her, "Ma'am, this is the third time this week that you've abused staff and customers. You need to leave right now, and if we see you here again, you will be trespassed. Now please leave." Karen, enraged, throws her basket to the floor and she rages out screaming about lawyers. The store manager apologizes to me for what happened, and I just brush it off. Not worried about it, as it's dealt with. The employee goes back to customer service and tells me to check out with them when I get what I need. They gave me a 25% discount on my kitty tasties and kitty food. So all in all, not bad. All it took was dealing with an idiot for 7 minutes. Guys, Karens are getting worse and worse at mistaking people for employees. Like, really, how can someone literally not tell that a person wearing pajamas is not an employee? And guys, she's done that not once, but 3 different times already, which is crazy. Like, maybe she does have the attitude of anyone and everyone on Earth should serve me. Being accosted by people who demand service from a non-employee has happened to me at the same big box warehouse store twice, but this one was truly mind-boggling. My boyfriend took myself and our dog on a Starbucks run earlier, and the line at the drive-thru was so long that I just mobile ordered and went inside to wait. I go to the Starbucks every day. I'm a regular, and I love the staff there, so I tip them quite a bit every time I go. Just a great vibe there. My boyfriend and I are about to have our 10-year anniversary in August, and I can never have too many Starbucks cold cups, so I'm just sort of looking at them and perusing the shelves of products. The area is very clearly not a register, and I'm wearing a purple crop top, shorts, and tie-dye Crocs, with my purse on my shoulder and sunglasses still on. I can see someone walking up towards the registers out of my peripheral vision. The 3 baristas working were running around making drinks. They were so slammed. This absolute stereotypical looking Karen lady is tapping her foot, sighing, checking her watch, and she's been standing at the register for maybe 30 seconds max at this point. She then walks up super close behind me, and I figure she's trying to kill time looking at cups or whatever while she waited. So I move out of the way, and then they had my drinks done, so I hear them call my name. That's when I turn around to go get my drinks, and this lady screeches at me saying, "Where the F do you think you're going, huh? How do you even have a job if you don't take orders at your effing register, you stupid bitch?" And yeah, she actually said that to me word for word. These people exist. Now, I have pretty crippling anxiety as is, and Starbucks was super busy, so I'm trying to keep my crap together already before this lady. I was just so flabbergasted that I was speechless. I just kept opening and closing my mouth in disbelief. The employees and everybody else in the store just went dead silent. Truly, you could hear a pin drop at that moment. The manager has now heard the shrill screeching call of a Karen in the wild. and has emerged from her office in the back and just looks so bewildered that it was honestly comical. The manager asked what happened, and the Karen starts about how lazy the employees are and they need to hire more people because clearly they can't keep up, and she knows there's a register at the display shelf. That's when the manager said the most iconic Karen demeaning comment that I've ever heard in my 32 years of living. The manager says to Karen, "Ma'am, she's not an employee. And I'm not sure what makes you think a display shelf full of merchandise for retail has a hidden register somewhere, but that's not the case here. I can confidently say that people like you are the reason everywhere is short-staffed. It's because of people like you. Now leave now or I will call the police and have you physically removed. Your choice, lady. And if you come back, you will be arrested. You are now trespassed from this store." At this point, my drinks have been ready for a long time while this lady throws her hissy fit. So I just grab them and peace the F out of there. I can't wait to find out what happened tomorrow morning. Update: I really should have stayed to watch the whole thing play out. The woman started screaming about reverse racism and she reached over the counter and just destroyed everything in reach. Like entire stacks of cups, lids, etc. Everything went on the floor. They then said that she started screaming about being discriminated against because she's white. So during her never-ending rant, the manager called the cops from the back room because the whole situation escalated very quickly. And she was Karened out to the point that they knew they wouldn't be able to force her to leave without touching her. The manager came back, told her the cops were called, and the Karen seriously said, "Good, because I called them too." Now, if you're guessing that she didn't actually call the cops, you'd be guessing right. So a cop comes in and the lady flies in midair over to him, screaming that she was threatened and that's why she called them. And thank God you're here, officer. Thank you for coming when I called 911 because I thought they were going to hurt me. And these are actual quotes from the manager relaying the story to me. The cop didn't know what to say, except for, "Ma'am, the only call we received was from the manager here, about a customer causing a disturbance. We have no record of any 911 calls made by yourself or anyone in the area, except from this Starbucks location." And that's when she blew up again, and she asked the cop, "Are you calling me a liar?" The manager told me that the cop visibly rolled his eyes and then just pulled her arms behind her back to restrain her. Nothing insane, he just put her hands behind her back and calmly walked her out of the store to her car and told her, "Lady, you need to get in your car and leave right now, or I will be more than happy to give you a ride. There's plenty of room in my back seat." The woman did manage to use half of her one brain cell and she finally left. Honestly guys, I'm surprised she didn't get in more trouble for destruction of property. And yeah, some people are getting a little bit too nutso if you ask me. Like, I know people need their coffee fix, but holy cow, to escalate it to that point is a little bit too much. And how the lady thought a Starbucks shelf full of mugs and tumblers had a hidden register in it is beyond me, guys. Like, I am friggin' speechless at that. Alright, so it's my first time on here, so bear with me, and I think it fits here. This takes place about 8 or so years ago, but I tell this story very often, so it's still fresh to me. I worked as a contract IT consultant. Basically, I worked for an IT group that got contracts to help with IT projects that were too large for the in-house IT department. We were the boots on the ground while they continued day-to-day operations. Most of the time, we worked with a library in a major city that had multiple locations. They would send 1 or 2 of their in-house techs with us to let us in the locations, the branches, to show us where the stuff was and what was being upgraded or replaced, and then they would let us have at it. I should also note that the in-house techs only work on computers and not for any of the branches themselves. Thus, they can't check out books or anything else for people. About halfway through this one project, we were going to a branch that was under construction. The outside was being completely redone, with scaffolding and tools all over the place. It was surrounded by a chain-link fence and several barriers of rope construction tape to allow workers in, but to keep the general public out, along with a lot of signs posting "Caution, Construction." The inside of the building had been painted recently, so there were no tables and no chairs. And the bookshelves were completely empty, with thin, clear plastic painter's tarp all over them. There wasn't a book, a computer, or DVD in sight, and this will come into play in a little bit. Early in the morning, Craig, the in-house tech, and our 5 techs, including me, showed up to the branch before construction crews got there. We met outside, and then all went inside the building together. Craig had an odd look when we all walked in. To our surprise, there were no computers or furniture to be seen anywhere in the building. Craig, not wanting to tell us to go home, contacted his boss by phone, who said to wait, maybe it'll show up in an hour or so, as sometimes deliveries were late. Plus, if they sent us home, they would have to reschedule this branch and pay us for another day's work to come back. So we waited. That's when Fred the foreman showed up, in vest, hard hat and all, along with his crew. Fred talked to Greg, saying he told the library contact that the furniture wasn't finished yet, and maybe it would be done by today, and he'd get a couple of guys right on it. Another call to the boss, and the boss says wait some more, maybe they'll be quick. Okay, but still no computers. While Craig's on the phone, and before Fred walks off, Fred tells me, let Craig and your guys know. If you need to leave, let me know. I'll get hard hats for you, so you can go out through the site, since that's the only way in or out. I say to him, okay, cool, thanks Fred. If a delivery truck gets here, it might be our computers. Let us know. If those get here, then we might need them. Fred tells me, yep, no problem. So after a couple of hours of us just twiddling our thumbs and waiting for the furniture and the computers, Craig and I were talking about video games, and he stops mid-sentence and looks to his left, with a stranger looking at him. This little old lady had walked right through the open front doors of the building, walked past all of the outside workers like they weren't even there, and I'd have thought she had just come from church with the way she was dressed. The woman was wearing a dark cotton open front sweater with a white undershirt, and she was wearing a shin-length skirt with her gray hair all done up. I'm sure both Craig and me had the same thought of, what the F, as we both walk up to her. The conversation is as follows. Craig says to her, ma'am, can I help you? The woman gruffly says, yes, I just want a DVD, pointing to the back of the room at an empty bookshelf. Craig says to her, ma'am, there's nothing back there. The library's closed. The old woman says, oh, it's fine. I just want a DVD. They're right back there. Pointing again. Craig tells her again, ma'am, the shelves are empty. Look around. There's nothing here. That's when the woman says to Craig, well, you work here. She then points a crooked finger, lightly stabbing his ID badge on his lanyard, and says to Craig, so show me where they're at. Craig tells the woman, ma'am, we're IT. We don't work at this branch. We only work on computers. And this is a general employee badge. Even administrators have them. The woman says to him, see, you do work here, so I want a DVD. Craig tells her, none of us work here, ma'am. There's not even any computers to check you out. Look around. He then gestures to the empty space where the checkout would normally be, and tells the woman there's no furniture, no staff. Didn't you read the multiple signs on the way in? This branch is closed, ma'am. You need to leave. The woman keeps telling him, I know they're back there, so just go. I want a DVD. They're right over there. The woman points to the empty shelves again, and she starts to walk in that direction. That's when Craig puts out his arms to block her path. And I ask her, how did you even get in here, ma'am? There's a construction site out front. There's times when I have perfect timing, as this is the same moment when Fred comes strolling by and waves at us. He then stops and looks at the old woman, and it's at this point I should mention that Fred is about average height, but built with thick cable-like arms. Not bulging muscles, but it looks like he could carry 250 pounds of anything without worry, and could intimidate just about anyone if needed to. Fred says to Greg, is she with you? Craig says, no, she just walked in from the street. The old lady says, I just want a DVD. I know right where they are. I've been here before. Craig says, not in a while you haven't. This branch has been closed for 3 months, ma'am. Fred says in a stern voice, ma'am, how did you even get in here? This is an active construction site. You had to have passed by at least 2 or 3 roped off and taped off areas that's boldly marked, do not cross. Did you just waltz past all of them? You can't be here. The lady again says, I just want a DVD, and I know they're here. Fred says to her, first off, this building's closed and under construction. Second, no, they don't have any DVDs here. They're all out today. Please follow me, ma'am. The woman looks like she wants to say more, but Fred puts his hand towards the door and starts to walk her out. He then grabs a nearby hard hat and puts it on her. The old lady says, don't you put that on me. I just had my hair done. Fred puts it on her anyway and walks her out to the street. They walked off the site the way the woman came in, and they passed by the barriers that looked partially taken down or just knocked over. Fred's face then went from stern to sour in about half a second when he saw them. By the time they walked out of the building's doors, I couldn't hear the conversation between Fred and her, but the large windows on the side of the building gave me a prime view of the entire chain of events. The old woman and Fred started having a long and argumentative conversation just outside the chain fence. They were apparently loud enough that the cops from the precinct across the street came over to see what was the matter. She was yelling and pointing at Fred, the building, and then at the cops. Fred looked like he was explaining the situation, pointing to the construction and the multiple do not cross tape and signs that she had taken down on her trek in. 5 minutes later, the woman's being walked over to the precinct when she turns around about halfway there and gives Fred the finger and starts yelling at him. The cop lightly puts his hand on her back and gently but firmly turns her back around and into the precinct. About 30 minutes later, we were sent home. A month later, I saw Craig at another location. He said he found out that the old lady was arrested for trespassing and she was banned from any library branch for a year. I've said this many times during my tenure as one of their consultants. How do you come to the library and not read the closed signs? Oh my goodness, guys. Like, when I was reading this post, I actually thought the lady was suffering from dementia or something. But I also realized that some old people can be entitled as heck. And this person says, a lot of people are claiming dementia, and I'm here to say, maybe, but probably not. People are just really effing stupid. I work at our library, and we had some construction done. And during the process, we had multiple people try to go in the construction site because, for what I can only assume is the belief that we had the really good stuff hidden for the brave and fearless. Multiple people. And all of them said the exact same thing as this lady. Oh, I just want a thing. I know where they are. Maybe it's dementia, but honestly, it's just pure stupid obliviousness. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. I hope you didn't shake your heads too hard. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/entitled People episode, where OP's neighbor won't stop demanding their dead family's things, and it gets ridiculous. Go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.